post-apocalyptic painting wasteland, there are two vault hunters that choose to lead you, fellow goody peepees, on your painting quest on the podcast known as
Trapped Under Plastic, where the preamble rambling is robot chicken and the rest is great advice and hobby talk. Don't change goobers. Thank you, Gregory Hall. We won't.
Don't you dare call us goobers. There's only one. There's only one goobs.
Oh, that's true.
There's only one goobs. We do not have the luscious ginger locks to be called true goobers.
Should we talk about the recent conversation we had with goobs, or is that too early?
Absolutely. I meant to put that in the preamble ramble, and I think I mean, with the fear of like putting something out in the universe that never happens. I think we still do it.
Okay. All
For
right,
not
yeah.
anything, we're used to letting people down, right, Scott?
Yeah, no, that's like basically a segment in our podcast. It's like, what new venture are Scott and John not going to take? We got a message from Goobertown, who is putting together a little bit of a miniature painting YouTuber Warhammer RPG group. This is not confirmed exactly. Everyone kind of seems loosely interested, but it is myself, John, Goobertown, Eons of Battle, and then kind of a mutual acquaintance of all of us. His name is Lovable Oaf on the internet, or Paul in real life, and he wants to run us through a one-shot of a 40K RPG, probably Wrath and Glory, for next June for the Fabulous Marines event that occurs in June. And, you know, I'm always down for a one-shot of an RPG. It feels like it's low commitment, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That was what it got me with, was a one-shot. 4-ish hours, you know, and I can commit to just trolling the 40K universe for 4 hours. That's what I decided.
I like how you word that.
Yeah, my initial response was, I can't think of a setting in lore that I'm less interested in.
Yeah, that was savage. I like read that and I was like, damn, bro.
No, I really could not care less from the lens of playing an RPG, of trying to play a character in that world. It just feels soulless and boring. But I think that's the structure of the world. That is just how like the game presents itself. That doesn't mean that we have to confine ourselves to that.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah. Also, I'm sure like some of the other like more narrative focused stuff, like Black Library books and like codices, like they get deeper. But like, yeah, the game presents itself as something that maybe is more focused on purely like combat and like this very like monotone like rage and like badassery. But maybe there's a little bit deeper below the surface.
Very two-dimensional. Yeah, we are gonna push Lovable Oath's dungeon mastering abilities. As what we do is not what you'd expect from a 40K game. That's my thought anyway. Because in all the Black Library books that I've read, and then the video that you made where I watched the frickin' Space Marine movie through your eyes, there is no depth to any character. They're all the same fucking character. It is so goddamn dense and boring. Yeah. I'm like, we need to play people with personalities, people that are relatable, people that have like real world issues, you know? I'm just like a moisture farmer, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You know, that's what I told Ova. I was like, hey, Paul, I want to be a servo bot. That's the character I want to play. You know, I could come up with a really pretty interesting backstory of that kind of character. But if we're playing 4 Marines, just like, goddamn, put the bolter pistol in my own mouth. That's the last thing I want to do.
Yeah. I feel like if you're like a robot, aren't those guys like lobotomized? I feel like those would be even more like lacking in personality.
Oh, I think you got to lean into it. That's the fun. Where it's just yeah, I was lobotomized. I have all these things that I did, and I had these really strong responsibilities, and I can't remember any of it. The only part of my brain that still works is just like my own OCD and just weirdo-ness, right? Like that's the part that's left over. So that's all you are, you know?
Yeah. That could be interesting. Okay. I dig that. I dig that a lot.
Yeah. So where that will not be, so this would be for like it's for like a charity thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Fabulous Marines.
Fabulous Marines next June. So we're a little ways out, but we might run a practice session or two to get the hang of the rules and that kind of a thing and have some fun with it. So if we do that, don't worry, we'll report back. Goody peepees.
Yeah. And in true like miniature wargaming fashion, the RPG for 40K also is a D6 system as opposed to something that's more typical for RPGs, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I played that Age of Sigmar RPG.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's all D6s too, and that game is hot ass. And I assume that this game is a similar kind of a thing. Like if you rely on like the combat structure rules as written for this to be fun or not fun, like it's not going to be very fun. But like that's not. I think we can lean away from that and have that be a fun accent to the cool story we tell in a one shot. So
Yeah.
that's how I envision it anyway. You know, at the beginning, at the intro, I mentioned Vault Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what Vault Hunters is from, Scott?
Maybe is it related to Borderlands?
Yeah, it's fucking Borderlands, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Borderlands 4 came out, and that's what John's doing in too much of his free time that he's not supposed to have free time for.
Okay,
He's playing Borderlands 4. You ever played Borderlands?
I haven't, but is it a looter shooter genre?
It's a looter shooter.
Okay.
God, it's so much fun. It's not just like continuing to get different guns that do different, more damage, like higher number better. It's just all sorts of weird, unique shit and uniques and rares and mythics and a whole huge like multi-tiered skill tree, very similar to WoW, where like you can kind of pick your active special ability skill, and then you have trees underneath, and you can branch out to the other ones. There's like, it's so customizable, and I freaking love that game because I love getting shinies. And if those shinies are guns that shoot, come on, dude.
Yeah. I feel that. I've kind of fallen down the Path of Exile 2 rabbit hole, which has a lot of similar things, a lot of shinies in that game. And the talent tree is laughably gigantic. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Path of Exile 2 talent tree, a.k.a. have the internet tell me what to do, because it's not possible to actually like play the game organically and not just hit a wall at some point.
Yeah, unless you want to like have like a PhD in talent trees, because it's like if you've never looked at a talent tree for Path of Exile, just go Google it. Go Google images and search it. It is comical. It is so gigantic. When I first saw it, I was absolutely like blown away. I was like, what am I meant to read this? Like, no. I just like picked a direction and then went in that direction. That's all I've been doing.
Yeah. And if you're enjoying that, then you're doing it right. You know, that's the thing about. I like to put that talent tree of that game akin to like if you looked up to the sky at night and you could see every star in the Milky Way at the same fucking time.
Yes.
That is that game's talent tree.
100%. That is a very accurate description. It is a constellation.
Yeah, it's just a hot mess. That said, it does a lot of things right. I'm a sucker for those games too. But yeah, I think you'd like Borderlands because you like shooters. You know, you're a Crisis player. You like Doom. It's like those. It gets that twitch satisfaction. There's a lot of improvements on mobility. Ability kind of things in this game compared to 2 and 3. So it really requires you for avoiding attacks and that kind of stuff from bosses to utilize movement.
Yes.
The whole fucking grappling system. You can grab off the walls and you have to like jump around. I did a boss last night that at a certain point in the fight, he releases all this fucking gaseous clouds on the ground. And the only way you can avoid taking damage as he like goes through this invulnerability phase where he's doing this over and over again, all the ground is covered in the entire battle arena. There's a bunch of points, like swing points, and you've got to like pitfall swing around the room while there's like little flying ads that you're trying to shoot while you're pitfalling and like grappling around until the gas goes away, and then you can go back down. It's like, it's so fun. It's so fun. I think you'd like it. I think you should play it instead of Path of Exile 2 immediately.
That does sound like a lot of fun. And also, you just said a word that brought me back to playing World of Warcraft. I haven't heard anyone refer to mobs that come in during a boss fight as ads in a very long time. That's peak MMO vocabulary right there.
Yeah, man. You gotta concern yourself with the ads. You know, there's an extra layer in Borderlands with ads too, because in boss fights, if you go to 0% shield and 0% health, you go into fight for your life mode, which is it's a red bar. When red bar goes down, you're dead. But if you can kill a monster while that red bar is going down, you pop back up with low health, with a bit of your shield left, whatever. So you're not dead when you drop. So it's this balance of like, I got to clear some ads so I don't get overwhelmed, but I don't want to clear all the ads in the boss, because if I drop, I need to be able to kill one of those ads quick to bring me back up.
I like that.
Yeah, it's such an elegant system of like, it allows you to keep it really ferocious and high speed in the game, and it allows you to play a little bit more loose and goose if you want to. If you want to be like, I'm fucking going in there guns a-blazing, I don't care if I go down because I'm going to shoot all you motherfuckers.
Dang, dude. That sounds awesome, honestly. Like, I mean, that sounds like there are a lot of elements in that game that I love from Doom Eternal. Like, is it FPS or is it third-person shooter?
It's FPS. No third person isn't even an option, baby.
Oh,
it's all
man.
FPS.
I love it. I love it.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Dude, we could, and you play multiplayer, dude. We can get in there together and we can fucking kill some mobs.
Multiplayer?
We want to farm,
or is it
farm
co-op?
some bosses.
What is it? Is it a co-op that you go through the campaign together, or are you
can hop
fighting
into
each other?
No, you go into it together. I don't know if there's like a PvP arena system. There might be, but yes, you can hop into, like, if you're playing your game, I can hop into your game wherever you're at in the story, whatever you're doing, and we can just play together. And I think it level syncs to what level you are too. I think, because I don't think you can just do a carry. But yeah, I know people that they go through the entire story and everything together. You can also do quick matchmaking. Like, you can pop in and just play with people with the group if they're farming a boss or working on certain hard quests or whatever, and do it together. That kind of thing too. But
dang,
I enjoy that, but also just playing it single player is so much fun, and the story's good too. So
okay,
I've convinced
awesome.
every goody peepee to play Borderlands 4.
Yeah, where's your affiliate link for Borderlands 4?
I know. I should get one.
Yeah,
Riot, give me that money, Riot.
Oh, Riot makes Borderlands?
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty
sure. I did not know that. I thought they only made League of Legends, and that was like literally it.
Oh no, it's Epic. It's Epic Games. Sorry.
Okay.
Epic, who also does Fortnite.
Okay.
Same studio that does, or it's not the same studio, but the same parent company.
You just reminded me that the International, like the biggest and baddest Dota 2 tournament, just happened this past weekend. Yeah, I went to my friend's house. We do a yearly thing where we watch the Internationals grand finals together, and also some of the games leading up to it. Play a bunch of Dota. A lot of fun. But we're getting too deep into the video game chat here. We need to get into a different off-topic conversation.
Okay.
John, have you ever got into a project that, like, midway through, you're like, I'm putting too much effort into this. This is a waste of time, but I can't stop now? You ever feel that?
Yeah, once you've gone full ball sack, you can't pull the ball sack back out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So last week, I talked to you about some foam bricks, or 2 weeks ago, some foam bricks that I was carving. Basically, so I have this like little octagon back wall, and there's some seams in the angled cracks that I wanted to hide with some bricks. And I was like, all right, I'll just make some bricks. This is easy. It was not easy. It took a very long time because I went a little too hardcore with it. And so I carved the bricks with the hot wire tool and the template. I mentioned that last time. And then I sanded every single brick so it was nice and smooth, because sometimes the hot wire tool leaves those like weird like wavy lines because you don't get like a perfectly straight cut. And then once it was done being sanded, I don't know, it was like maybe like 40 bricks. And I put them in a tote with a bunch of rocks, and I rock tumbled them to like make all the edges nice and soft. I thought that was a waste of time, but actually once they got painted, which was the next step, you could see all the little divots, and like it looked like real brick. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then I hot glued them to my wall. And I hot glued them with like a spacer so that there's a nice consistent, like I was treating it like real fucking brick.
That's my question is, at what point, why is this not just do actual masonry, dude?
You know, I probably should have, honestly. It would have been like higher resale value for my home instead of putting brick on a foam brick. Anyways, I got the brick on the wall. It was looking hot. And then I was like, okay, I need to fill these cracks in with grout. And it was like a 3/4 inch thick grout line. So pretty thick. And so I was like, okay, I'll just use spackle. I'll just fill it in with spackle. Yeah. And man, that was so fucking messy. Like all the bricks were painted black, and I was getting white crap like everywhere. And so, like while I was doing it, I was like, okay, these are gonna need to get painted again. So it's like while you're applying a solution you thought was gonna work, I'm like actively creating more work for myself. And so I went and got some caulk. I had some caulk left over from a living room renovation we did, and I like cut the tip so it was super huge, and I was like putting it all in there, but it was like a huge amount of space, and so I instead had to like stuff the crack with like newspapers, so like the caulk so like it wasn't just all caulk, you know? You don't want all caulk in the crack, you know?
No, dude, no. You can't put all the caulk in. You only put in a little bit of caulk.
Yeah. And so I'm just getting like angrier and angrier that all my ideas are just like dog shit. And so I'm stuffing all these cracks with newspaper, and then I'm putting the caulk in, and it's still kind of getting everywhere. And then like while I'm doing this, I'm like thinking of like ways to do it that are like just a million times better. Like I could have just like cut a slightly smaller pink like little foam shape that was like, I don't know, a 3/4 inch thick foam sheet, and just glued it in between each brick, and then had been done with it, you know? I could have painted the brick like grout black, painted the little grout discs the color of the grout, and then the moment it was glued together, it would have been done. Like there wouldn't have been any caulk, you know? Less caulk is good, I think.
Yeah, it's, you know, in most areas of life, I think less caulk is better.
Yeah.
I love how you took this. Like, we usually in our day-to-day life in miniature painting, we take a real-world scenario, a real-world situation, and we find a way to miniaturize it and use the tools at our disposal for the miniature hobby to make it replicate the real world to scale size. You took the miniature angle, but you were working in real-world scale.
Yeah. I thought it would be easier.
Use the real world shit.
Do you think putting actual brick and mortar down would have been easier?
Yes, 100%. 100% easier. The only difficult part of that is having a brick cutter tool that will cut the angles that fits in that wall.
Yeah.
But once you have it set up to the right angle, you just put the brick in, snap it, put the brick in, snap it, and you do that for all the bricks you need. So it's just like the right tool for that job. It's the only thing that's kind of holding you back. You know, or even creating a little jig for it and then using a saw or whatever. But once you get the bricks cut, everything was 100% quicker. and you worry about like resale, which my brain would go there too. But I've seen the pictures of how it's looking already, and I know it's not even all the way done. It looks so good. Like, was the fact that wall had mirrors, was that a make or break thing for you guys buying the house? No. It's not going to be a make or break thing for the next people. They'll probably be like, oh, damn, that looks cool. We can put a bar in there. Or, you know, what I remember, stuff like that. Like, people won't, you know, they'll be more likely to be impressed until they, like, touch it and their finger pushes into the foam.
Like, why is it squishy? Yeah. Honestly, it does look like brick, which was kind of impressive that, applying the miniature hobby solution to a 1-to-1 scale brick kind of actually also scales up and works well. Because I remember watching a Blackmagic Craft video where he had like a coffee bean tin, and he puts a bunch of tiny little bricks in and some rocks, and he like shakes it, and it made all the bricks edges rounded off, and it was amazing. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that, but with like rock from my backyard. Yeah. And it worked kinda.
Yeah, I think basically what you did is you did what a practical effects artist does for movies.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's like a backdrop for like a play or something like that. They're not, they're gonna use like foam or maybe something a little bit lighter, maybe like wood or something like that.
Yeah, where it's either got to be on wheels, or it's got to be easily movable between scenes, or it's got to look like it's a real something, but actually in the movie scene, it's far enough back that we didn't need to actually make this real thing. Kind of thing. Yeah.
And I just installed the cabinet yesterday, and one convenient thing about it being foam was that I could trim the brick to the exact height, so the brick just meets right up with my cabinet in like a really satisfying way. So that was one nice thing about it not being actual brick, is I don't gotta break out the angle grinder and the masonry wheel and like just make a bunch of fucking dust everywhere.
Touche. Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be really satisfying. There's a little overlap where the brick is like snug over the top of the desk in those corners. Okay, that's pretty fucking cool. That's probably worth it.
Yeah, and now I want to add maybe one or two little slit windows, like where you would like shoot like arrows through to make it feel like a tower or something like
slits,
that,
bro.
Yeah, and I got these
With a little LED screen behind
yeah,
you.
some kind of light. Or like maybe it could be like a window that has like that wolf bust that I have, and it's just kind of just like sitting in the window. Or like I have like these gold goblets I could also put in the window or something like that. I got a lot of kind of classic, like, you know, imagine like Nosferatu's like, you know, mansion, you know.
Right.
This is a corner of it.
Hey, remember the start of this conversation when you said you went too ball sacky into a project and you can't back out of it? Remember that? Remember
that? But I'm too. But the second half of that statement is I'm too deep, and now I have to keep going. You know, so
right. Yeah, you can't just like take the ball sack out of the vise. It's already screwed into the vise. If you try to rip the sack out now, that's
dangerous.
Dangerous. Yeah, that's an ER visit nobody wants to have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We don't want a lot of cock, but we want at least one, you know.
Yeah, we want to hold on to what little cock we have left. You know?
Yeah. Anyways, that's my first topic.
I have a good transition to something in the decor realm, because that's kind of what we're talking about here. Is I went to an estate sale last weekend, and it was a weird estate sale. It was an massive estate sale for a nunnery. So this giant facility, because it's a big thing in the history of the town that I live in, and dealing with the Mayo Clinic and its relationship and origins connected to the Franciscan sisterhood. And there's a massive nunnery, which is a fucking amazing ass building. I hope they put it up for sale. I'm gonna buy it because it's like a big ass castle. And it's kind of going the way of the dinosaur. The nuns that still live there are the last nuns that will ever be there.
Okay.
And so they're just getting rid of all sorts of shit. And in the pictures, they had like a giant marble Jesus like on the cross, like fucking 6-foot marble Jesus that goes like behind the pulpit on the wall in a church kind of thing. I was like, I fucking want to buy that. I don't care how much it is. I'm just going to hang it from a tree in my woods and just freak people the fuck out. I couldn't buy that. They wouldn't let me.
Okay. I saw the weird like dragon thing making like this expression with the googly eyes. Like that thing was fucked.
Yeah, that was my daughter put googly eyes over everything.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's a gargoyle. I bought a gargoyle. That's from a different estate sale. But what I actually bought was a card catalog. And for people that don't know what a card catalog is, I'm sure most goody peepees do. It's back when they had literal libraries before the age of computers. How you'd find books was you'd go to the card catalog and you'd open up these cool drawers, and you dig through according to author, according to what category or whatever. And they'd have physical little like cards in there that you'd find where the book was located that you're looking for. Now these things are typically like very high craftsmanship, very cool. There's not like cheap IKEA versions of them because they were made for these big, like institutions. And there's very few companies that made them. They don't exist anymore. Obviously, people aren't producing and buying card catalogs anymore. Mm-hmm. And so if you can find them for sale, they're ridiculously expensive. I found they had one for their churchy nun library, and it's not a very big one. It's maybe only about 5 feet wide because it obviously wasn't a big library, but it's like gorgeous quality. It's actually like 4 or 5 pieces, and they all are tongue and groove that fit together and lock into place on top of each other. Cool. Very satisfying to put together and take apart. It makes it for easy travel because it's fucking heavy. My whole point of why I wanted one of these is, one, they're just cool. They're historical. They kind of look like a thing you'd have curiosities and oddities inside. It's kind of a conversation piece. But also, they're great for storing all sorts of shit. Like, you open up the drawer, and it just can be filled with pigment powders and your little enamels bottles and all your inks and all the different bits and stuff like that. So,
are you using it downstairs?
Yeah, it's in my room. It's right around the corner.
Okay.
So I kind of reorganized my room. I went through a little bit of that. I took my my tall IKEA display cabinet, put it over in the 3D printer room, put it in that one's place, and trying to streamline this room a little bit. And I got my CRT TV over there. I'm going to put up my Nintendo, my Super Nintendo.
Yes.
So yeah, we're going to be ready to go. So I'm pretty excited. A fun little story. When I went in, because I was in first, stood in line for the estate auction to open, and I was like 10th person in line. When I get in there, I find the card catalog right away, and it was $300, which was like pretty expensive, but I know it's worth a lot more than that. I grabbed the card. As I'm walking around looking at other things, bookshelves and shit, a guy that worked there, because he had a volunteer teal smock on, he's like, did you get a number for that? I'm like, no, I didn't. No, I just, usually when you go to estate sales, if you pick up the card, then it's known as sold. And he's like, okay, come back to it with me. I go back to it. He puts a sold tag on it. He puts a number on it, like you're going through the drive-through window in your window thing. He puts number 38. He also gives me number 38. And he says, okay, this way you know when you go up and you pay that they connect it with your thing. When he goes and does this with me, there's 4 dudes around the thing that were waiting to find out if it was sold or not.
Ooh.
One dude immediately says, I'll give you $400 for it.
Oh, no, dude.
Yeah. And I'm like, I know it's worth at least $1,000. So if you give me $600, I'll consider it. And he's like, all of them are flippers. They're all people that own antique stores. They're all people that want it to make money off it. And I'm like, yeah, I could like make free money today, but I also really want this kind of thing. And if I end up wanting to get one, I'll end up spending more for it. So I'm like, nah.
So what happened?
So I bought it for $300.
So those guys couldn't talk to the estate sale and be like, I will give you $400 for this and take it from this guy. That's not an option?
No.
Okay,
because it's not like a family that's running it. It's through an estate sale company.
Okay.
And so I think things get a little bit hairier there, and and they had all these volunteers and stuff. Volunteers they don't have the authority.
Right, to like bargain and stuff and do that kind of thing.
Suck my ass. I got here first.
Okay, good. All right, I thought that was going to go in a different direction, like where these guys were able to take it from
Bid
each
me
because outbid you or something like that.
It's not an auction. You can't do that.
Okay.
So then I went and I checked out right away, and I bought it, and I pulled my truck up and then put it in the back of the truck, and then went and looked at everything else, just so no shenanigans could happen.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? The longer
100%.
it's sitting on the floor, the more I'm like, at some point I'm like, is somebody just gonna like try to just like take this and go and give them money for it and walk out with it? Nah.
Awesome.
Luckily, it's big and heavy enough that they couldn't just carry it with them or put it on a dolly. But
dude, that's so cool. A freaking nunnery, dude. There's probably so much good stuff in there.
They had wild shit. They had some badass, like really fancy rosaries.
Ooh, yeah.
And I was like, I kind of want to get one, but also I feel like that I would be like spitting in Jesus' face a little bit. It would be like, I just want this because it looks cool. I don't necessarily like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm probably going to curse myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to curse myself, too.
Like, I'm not sure if there is a God, but if there is, I'm going to, maybe just back off a little bit.
Yeah. But, what inevitably would happen was I would die. I'd wake up at the kingdom of the gates of heaven, and I'd be like, shit.
He'd be like, is this yours, John?
Be like, is it familiar, asshole?
Yeah. All right.
All right. I'll take my stuff and leave. Show me where the fucking escalator down is.
That's hilarious. Okay, well, speaking of CRTs, I went in a different direction with my more recent home media purchases, and I have a projector screen project that I'm working on right now. And screens come in all flavors and varieties. There are obviously ones you can buy on Amazon and eBay that can cost whatever, $100, $200. There are ones that cost, $1,000 to $5,000. And what I am going to do is I'm going to make my own screen just out of pine timbers and also spandex. Spandex, if you stretch a layer of black over a layer of white, gives you what's called an acoustically transparent screen. And so you can put speakers behind it. And so luckily, I don't know, this worked out so well. Not only is this room that I picked for my little home theater perfect for running cables because you can get to above the room with it in the like attic space, which is amazing. But also the wall that I want to put the screen on, behind it is the like you could call it maybe like the roof area of over my garage, which also there's another attic crawl space you can get up there, and it's all plywood floor, and so you can walk around super easily. And so I'm going to make a little speaker cubby behind my projector screen so I can like save space and like, you know, kind of hide these giant black cubes that speakers, you know, are. They're not like the most attractive looking things. And I'm going to put it in this room that I like line with Rockwool insulation and then have a big screen in front of it that's like hanging on a French cleat so I can slide it out of the way if I need to get to it. But yeah, it is fairly inexpensive. I imagine it'll cost me less than $100 to make a fairly good acoustically transparent screen, whereas normally something that performs as well as that would cost, you know, maybe 10 times as much. And so
Really?
yeah, it feels like a really great like application of like DIY. Like DIY is always kind of like maybe this is like good for like someone who's just getting into a hobby, but this seems like a thing that's going to be good for like a really long time. So I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. I called Spandex World. do you remember?
That's a real place.
It is. Do you know? So you read forums maybe sometimes. Do you know the forum AVS forums?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So AVS forums has a DIY screen sub forum, and there's like a guy who like owns that sub forum and like answers every single question, and he has like an amazing write-up of like how to make it, like what the gain of the screen is. Like a screen gain is like how much it takes the light that you shoot on it and like either reduces or increases it. And so he like has all the measurements and like all this stuff, and he's like, call Spandex World, you want these two milkskin matte spandexes, call them and say, don't fold it, send it to me on a roll so there are no creases. Like he has like all the fucking tricks. And so yeah, I gave Spandex World a call in Queens, New York, and I was like, I need these two things on a roll, please. And yeah,
Bro, as soon as you call and you tell them not to fold it, they're like, fucking Doug sent you, didn't he?
goddamn Doug, dude.
Fucking Doug from the internet's fucking us over with our shipping. God damn it. Oh, that's great. I mean, that's so cool though. Like how more can you like actually go into a project like that with having any level of confidence, from confidence level 2 to confidence level 100 because somebody walked through all the minutia like that?
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Like the projectors themselves, have they come to a point where it's like, because you're doing it for size, right? Like you can get a 100-inch TV now for like
you know,
so like is the quality like, where are we at with that? Is it gotten to the point that, I mean, unless you can spend, you know, $15,000 on a projector, which I'm sure you can.
Yes. Yeah, you're totally right about TVs. Like a 100-inch TV costs like $2,000, or maybe even less now. I think that's what it cost when I was looking at like Hisense and like kind of the cheaper ones. If you get like a Sony Bravia, it's 100 inches. It's going to cost you like $5,000.
They have a. I'm sure this is probably within your budget. So Samsung has 100. I think it's 150-inch mini LED. For $150,000. So mini LED is like the next gen technology that doesn't really even exist yet. So
wait, it's 150K.
Yeah. Yeah, because like mini LED, micro LED is the other one that the Bravias are going towards with Bravia 9. But the mini LED it like puts to shame OLED in terms of its darkness of blacks and richness of colors and crispness and whatever. So it is what each individual pixel has full color spectrum. So it's full control of every single pixel, being off to pure black up to full vibrancy of color. So you could just get that, and then you don't need to make a spandex wall.
Easy, yeah. Spandex wall. You're totally right. Like that is definitely a consideration that I should have had. Like maybe researched it more. I thought I was going to be able to get a 120-inch screen, but I didn't do the math perfectly. And because of the projector I have, which is a 4K laser projector, and the distance away from the wall, it's about 13 feet. I can only max out at 110 inches and it be in focus still, which that is still very large, but was 10 inches worth the hassle of having to read AVS forums and call Spandex World and make a Spandex screen? I don't know, you know? It's kind of, I'm just enjoying this process. I've always wanted a projector, and the cool thing is if I move to a different room ever, I can just make a bigger screen. I've got to buy a new TV. I'll just put the thing back further if it can accommodate that, and I'll have a bigger, TV in a way. So yeah, probably not
spandex world again though.
I know, no shit. I need more spandex, bro. So yeah, it's probably not worth it for 10 inches over. Because I'm gonna end up spending pretty much the exact same cost of a 100-inch TV. But it is kind of more for the home theater clout, I have a projector,
right. Yeah, that's true. It has its own implications. And it's like it also is. It's like it's a bit of an homage to that's how in a movie theater how you experience a movie as well, right?
Yep.
There's something about that. Just the physical nature of it not being a television screen that just makes it a different experience. And maybe that's a nostalgia thing or there's something connected to that's more than the tangible, but I think there is still something there. It is something that's not a non-factor.
Yeah. And also putting the speakers behind the screen is something you can't do with the TV, which happens in movie theaters as well. Like when you go to AMC, do you see speakers in the front? Do you see front and left and center channels and subs? No, they're literally behind the screen. So yeah, that's a cool thing too.
Yeah, that's also where the killer always hides too.
In my speaker cubby, dude.
Yeah, just get a slash through the spandex with your big knife.
Oh my God, please no.
No, I did all this work. Spandex World, baby.
Spandex World.
I got my Golden Demon trophy finally arrived.
I saw the video. Yeah.
I was pretty proud of myself. I was the first one to get a video out. I did a little a short on it.
That's a good idea, honestly.
I know. I'm like, no, I haven't seen anybody post on this yet. It came in the mail today, and someone was like, I'm going to do a little unboxing. And the box is super primo, nice gold foiling on the Golden Demon logo outside, nice texture to it, real heavy stock, custom foam inserts, that kind of stuff. Really, really cool. And just overall, I was like, it's really nice. I know there's a lot of squawking online from people about like, oh, they're taking forever, and why don't we have our trophies yet? This is bullshit. And I'm like, we're gonna get it. What does it matter? It's like if you didn't get it day of, like, I don't care if I gotta wait X number of months or not, because I know that I'm so happy it's got a plate on it. It's got a cool box now. And
yeah,
I think that having the plate where it says your name and it says the category and it says AdaptiveCon 2025, like that's worth it. That alone, I would wait the amount of months to physically get it. So.
That's a good point. Actually, Amber watched the video and she was like, why didn't they just give it to you at the event? And I didn't think about the fact that they need to put your actual name on it. They can't just like engrave it at the show and then give it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's cool. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's not like an essential item. It's not bread. You don't need to eat your trophy. Like you can wait a couple of months for it.
It's not like they took our models to take official pictures and they mailed them back to us. I would be a bit more like, you don't get to have my award-winning model for 6 months. That's not fair. It's a different thing. Now, in theory, what I think and I hope they do moving forward, if anybody at Games Workshop listens to Trapped Under Plastic, is that they give us the physical trophies there, and then they just mail us the plaque later.
Okay.
So we can put on the plaque ourselves.
Okay.
But you have the trophy. And the reason they didn't give us the trophies there is because they were stuck in customs and the whole bullshittery. Like, they didn't physically have the trophies at Adapticon.
Yeah.
They got stuck in customs, and they physically couldn't get them for the event.
Okay.
And I don't blame GW for that. I mean, yeah, there was maybe a ball that was dropped, but more than likely it was completely out of their control.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I hope that the plaques continue, and that's something they can just mail to the winners later, because it does add a level of, officialities.
Yeah, personality. Also, it's cheaper to ship a plaque than it is a full trophy, GW.
Touche. So. You don't need that fancy-ass box.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many comments I got on that video of, are you going to paint it now? You should paint the Golden Demon Trophy. You should paint the Golden Demon Trophy in NMM.
In NMM? What the fuck? No, that's so stupid. If you're gonna paint it like a real demon. But like, then, don't do that. Right.
And I'm sure I'm not the only one that gets those comments, and anyone that shows their trophy off. But I will say this: this is my response to that, to the universe. Anyone that's won a Golden Demon in the last, I'm going to say 3 years. I'm just going to put a amount of time on it, maybe since COVID. The amount of hours, the amount of heartache, the amount of luck involved to get one, it feels like now it is such a a special thing to actually win a golden demon because the competition is so incredibly high. To get one is such like a rarity these days. I would never in a million years consider that. You could tell me that video would get 1 million views, and I probably would still be like, no, I'm not doing it, because it carries so much more weight and so much more importance to me to kind of mock it for clicks. Like I have no interest in doing that, and I wouldn't blame anybody if they decided to do it. Maybe it doesn't carry the sentimental value to everybody as it does to me, but just to me, it's like, oh my gosh, this thing is it's like personified all the work, all the the stressful hours, all the whatever, and looking at being lucky enough to be chosen to win. I don't want to disrespect that.
Okay, so you think there's a level of disrespect to painting the trophy? Why do you think there's disrespect?
Yeah, because it's disrespecting how difficult and how much pure work and commitment it is to win it, and it's kind of saying that it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
right?
but why?
It's not a big deal to win one.
Why
because
is it
I can
disrespect?
just throw it. I mean, it's disrespectful to me personally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disrespect. I wouldn't be disrespected if someone that won one did it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I would be disrespected if someone who didn't win one bought one on eBay and painted it for their YouTube channel. That would be disrespect for me, though, because it's disrespecting the work from the actual artist.
Right.
If you won it, you can do whatever the hell you want, and maybe someone will, but I just think of it's like so incredibly hard, and I don't know how many more times I will ever be able to run that rat race again. Maybe never. Maybe I'll never never enter another golden demon. I don't know, but like. It's in every year that goes by, it is harder and harder because the competition is higher and higher. And the amount of people that paint 1 to 2 miniatures an entire year only for this purpose, those number of painters doubles every year. Your chances of winning one just goes down every year. I'm not gonna do a shitty paint job on my trophy. I don't know. That's my thought. I don't blame any. Most people that made those comments, it's for a joke. Like they're not serious and they're whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't take it personally. I'm not mad at anyone who made those comments. It's just like it made me think about it. It's like, would I do that? What do I think about that? How does that make me feel to think that I would do that? And I'm like, no, it's not for me. It's not for me. Okay. I'm usually the silly slapsticky guy, but for some reason, this is where I drew a line. I don't know.
I agree with like the resolution you came to in your head, how that feels like a certain level of disrespect. And it's just like interesting to think about, like, why is painting a trophy for a miniature painting event, like, why would that disrespect the trophy? And it's like almost like you're saying that the thing they gave me is not enough to represent the effort that I went through, or I feel like I can make it look better, like it's not worth like the effort that I put in, and I'm going to improve it. Like maybe that's where the feeling of disrespect comes from, because I would also never fucking paint a golden demon trophy, just because like in its normal state it represents the award that was given, and the award that was given is so important that I wouldn't want to change what it represents.
Right. Yeah, it alters what it is. It's no longer a representation of your work. It's its own work.
Yes.
It downplays what it represents, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Which, that's not to say you couldn't I'll make a cast of it or whatever, and then I'll paint a fake one or something. But even then, dude, that model wouldn't be fun to paint. It's kind of janky in the quality of it compared to an actual GW model. So I don't think it would look good anyway.
I agree. Yeah. Last thing I'll talk about is I'm going to get, for the first time ever in my life, I'm going to have fiber internet, and I am so excited. I have a contractor coming over to help me. Actually, it's Paul. Paul does a lot of low voltage electric work, and he's going to help me run whole house Ethernet, put in access points in my house. We're installing a half rack in my furnace room where we're going to, put in a switch, put in a router, put in all this shit. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited to have a fully kitted out internet solution in my home for YouTube videos, for live streaming, and also just for use and stuff. I've never had fucking fiber. I've always had to deal with fucking Comcast, and I hate Comcast, and I'm so excited as a 33-year-old to finally have fiber. It's amazing.
Bro, it's so great for Borderlands 4. Yeah. I mean, your upload speed, that's a big thing. You know, just your work day-to-day stuff. It's so nice. Yeah, I have it, and I was like, oh God.
It's nice.
What was life like without this? So, yeah, and you're getting all, you know, the key hardline in there, so you're just kind of like set for forever. That feels so good. Yep. Mine isn't even that. I only have like 2 hardlines for my whole house for it, but you know, it's enough. Even under Wi-Fi and stuff, it still runs. Our Wi-Fi on fiber runs twice as fast as our Comcast did before.
So that's like
when it was hardlined.
Yeah, like that's an actual real result, which is amazing.
Yeah. All right, we want to talk about the TUP Partners, the companies that we love, and they're nice enough to support us. So maybe they love us as well. The first one I want to talk about is Monument Hobbies. I talked about recently in the video where I talk about some of my favorite go-to products for 2025 was the Monument Hobbies spray primers. There is a big difference between your average spray primer and a really, really good one, and Monument Hobbies ones are really, really good, and they're affordable. They're not going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, and the next company we want to talk about is Iwata. Iwata is a company that John and I have both used their airbrushes from for a long time. I've been a huge fan of the HP CS and the HP BH for a very long time. Those have been my chosen daily driver airbrushes, and I'm looking forward to cracking open the Takumi, the sports car, the supercar of the airbrush range, to really see like what an expensive brush can do. But check out Iwata. They're built for artists, trusted by masters, precision tools, no matter your path.
Next up is Game Envy. We love the Game Envy wet palettes. And also at Nova, we're going to talk today about painting classes. At Nova, they had the Game Envy lights in every station that students were painting at. And I can tell you, world of difference. Those lights are so nice, so flexible, can go in any painting room, and they're really, really high quality.
And last, we'll talk about Cobalt Keep. I just moved from my office space to my house, and that was made so much easier because the majority of my miniature collection, like a lot of my gaming figures, which I painted a ton of in the past couple of years, have magnet bases from Cobalt Keep. I could toss them in my magnet storage. I'd have to use poster tack that didn't fly around anywhere, and it made that transition so much easier. On top of that, they have a bunch of accessories that work with magnets, holders, cases to put them in, big and small. There's just so many accessories that work with those magnets, as well as it just being a convenient solution just to have in general.
All right, Scott, we do a little hobby update for the hobby.
Let's do it.
It sounds like you've been balls deep in making fake bricks. Did you do anything else?
Yeah, I got to be honest. The progress that I have made the last couple of weeks has not been like satisfactory to me. But lately, I have gone like the pace is picking up in a really satisfying way. And so I got my ceiling rig fully installed. All those bars from Steel Tech are in my ceiling. The backdrop is shaping up. And basically, I am less than a week away from having a space that I can film videos in like I used to be able to film in the office. And then once that happens, I can start making normal miniature painting videos again and not all these weird movie review and game development videos. There's still one more game dev video coming out, actually, that's out for early release right now for my patrons. But I'm excited to get back to it. I remember this feeling, and I think I've said this phrase to you before, like when I was like balls deep in editing the masterclass courses for my Kickstarter. I was like, I'm excited to get back to being a regular YouTuber. And that feeling is happening for sure right now. Cause I can see how close we are to being done. Like, you know, putting lights and cameras up in my cage is like, that's going to take me like half a day. Like that won't be difficult at all. And then putting up my backdrop with all my big paper rolls and stuff, that also is not that's not a difficult job to do. So it's close. I'm almost done. And when I get there, I'll be hobbying all the way forward.
That's exciting. Maybe it'll be a nice kind of refresher or get you re-energized for some of the more standard hobby style videos. And it was a piece of advice you gave me as I was kind of realized I was getting overwhelmed with the Deck of Many Colors project, was you were like, just be careful you don't remove yourself too far from the standard YouTube videos, the time that you spend on those, and the commitment to releasing and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it can be scary if you like it gets out of arm's reach and you just like that. But that's what I need to be doing, and a level of kind of anxiety you give yourself. And so I'm glad that the light is at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. For me, I painted 2 more minis since our last session. I sent you pictures via Instagram last night or wherever I sent them. First one is I painted an Infinity guy, a robot, and I talked about kind of the underpainting, but just kind of some like real basics, things that we often forget about or that we don't talk about enough in the fundamentals of painting that I have come to realize are really the scaffolding that without it, it's very hard to achieve consistent results and improvements if those fundamentals aren't really solid in your work. And so revisiting that, had a really good response from viewers about that, about wanting more of that kind of thing. So I'm going to have to do more of that. And then I just finished painting Chaos Dwarf guy. He's the new Helmsmith of Hashut hero. And he was using artwork as inspiration and pulling an awesome piece of artwork and finding the 5 main colors. So it's a 5-color kind of challenge, 5 main colors in that artwork, and using that as inspiration to paint him up. Interestingly enough, the inspiration work was much more heavenly, a good guy. The name of the artwork is called The Judge. And I painted an evil dwarf. And so kind of seeing how those colors used in an entirely different kind of model and how I chose to use them still worked and still gave a level of harmony, but a totally different feel than the artwork that inspired it.
I love it. The Chaos Dwarf is working for me a lot. Like I love the magenta, like the salmony colors, the indigo, you're living in this like pie wedge from a decent chunk of the model, and then you have like the yellow NMM, but it still is like flirting with that purple like a lot, and so it just all harmonizes like really well together. And it's a cool model too. I didn't think that, I kind of always think that Chaos Dwarf was like a little stupid, a little memey.
Right.
But this one looks cool. I like him a lot. I like his weapon. It's a cool weapon.
I know. I didn't know what to call it, so I called it a hatchet spear because I was like, that seems close. Yeah. The 5 colors were like a whole red, so like a real rich red brown, pretty dark. A real deep but saturated navy. A kind of a true purple, salmon. That true salmon is one of the colors, and then a really light peachy skin tone. So there's no actual yellow, but adding in, like using that peachy skin tone to try to pull out some more of the yellows.
From what? From what color are you mixing it with?
To mix the peachy skin tone with?
To get like the NMM-y, yellowy kind of color. Like how do you get that color?
Mostly the brightest highlights of that, they look yellow, but it's just white added to that peach. So it takes most of the saturation out. Yeah, the name of that was Radiant Flesh by AK 3rd Gen, which is a very much more orangey than yellowy. But yeah, pushing that all the way up, like in the video I talk about, like these are not colors that I would feel comfortable at all with, nor would I think would work to make NMM metallics. But you have the reference artwork to show you not only is it possible, but like the guy had his really cool scale mail on, and it goes to really, really like almost heavenly off-white scales and where that's hit the brightest. And like the artwork shows us that it's possible. So I'm just going to kind of emulate using basically what my eye tells me what color, changes happen there. And I was really happy with it. And obviously I didn't push it super far, and I didn't, go super in depth with it for the metallics, but it was enough to where I was like, oh yeah, they just read as interesting metals, and somehow those colors kind of harmonized well with the whole scheme. So I'm digging it.
Yeah, gotta trust the process on that one. That's interesting. That it's difficult to think about a scheme in general, but to also think about how the colors interact to create a sensation in your brain, like a visual sensation that this thing feels like gold. That's a step even harder, Like, I don't even know. Like, I feel like you could have like a bag of tricks in the back of your head where it's like, okay, if I use color X and color Y, I'm gonna get color Z. Like, I don't have that like information in my head. Do you like have like color combos that like produce outcomes that you wouldn't expect when added together?
No. I
Okay.
usually just back my way into it, and it's a happy accident.
Yeah.
Oh, that
100%.
those two make an interesting color. And if you find that with mixing them on the palette, you're like, well, now I got to use it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I found this little surprise here. You know, I think that's a big thing with color mixing, and it's something I kind of like came to a realization on and talk about a little bit in the video. Is that I think there's this misperception that we shouldn't be mixing colors unless we know what color they're going to mix when we start.
Yeah.
And that you have to have the full knowledge of the outcome to even attempt the experiment. And that is absolutely not true.
Yeah. 100%.
That is a level of experience, education, and, like pure understanding of color at a very scientific level to be able to have that information. And that literally has nothing to do with execution as a miniature painter. So don't feel like you need to know the answer before you start the question. Just experiment and have fun and learn as you go and use whatever the mix happens to be. And it's like if you wait until you know what that answer is going to be, you'll never begin. And so just have fun. Just mix the paints. They'll look good, I promise. Especially with the limited color palette, because we know based on the artwork that's inspiring us that these colors do work together, that they do create a level of harmony and they do create a level of interest. So we don't just have to rely on ourselves. We have a case study of them working. So let's take that off our shoulders and let's just work with those limited colors and see what happens when we mix them together. Good things typically happen.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Like, if you do want to do mixing, keeping it limited gives you bumpers to like kind of exist inside of. And also, like, don't be like afraid of like colors like browns and grays when you get those mixtures, because often they're very interesting browns and grays. Like they're a lot more cool than like a neutral version of that color. And it harmonizes with what's going on your miniature. Like often you need neutral colors like that to fill spaces that aren't very important. And so grays and browns and tans and similar colors are good to get with mixes as well.
Yeah, neutrals in general. It almost feels like we'd be a healthier miniature society if no paint companies made generic neutrals. Because we can mix our own generic neutrals however we want, and they have they have that hint of something else, and that something else creates that color harmony. And that's so cool. Yeah, you're exactly right. More often than not, we pull towards neutral or desaturation in most mixing of miniature paints, but that's not a bad thing, because you need those spots for your eye to breathe between the spot colors, between the interesting points. So let it breathe off of harmonizing neutrals. That's exactly what we're doing, and we didn't have to dig more paints off our shelf to
Exactly. All right, let's get into a patron critique of Sean Abbott. As patrons of our show, you get access to a couple of things, and one of those things you get access to is a critique from John and myself. So we're gonna go over Sean's orc. Oh, he's got a big old orc on a cabbage here.
Yes.
Prehistoric painting is his Instagram handle. Okay, let's see here. It's more of a desaturated muted green for the dragon. The membrane in between the wings and his belly and his jaw are kind of like a cream color, maybe also a little green on the cream color. And then you have the orc on top with a much more traditional green, vibrant skin tone, bone colored armor, red colored accents. Ready, set, go.
Okay. First of all, I really like the color choice, kind of separating the green from the rider and the green from the Napa cabbage here, because you get more of that yellowy, desaturated, interesting. It pushes the eye towards the rider more, which I think that's a really good thing, because that's such a big football-shaped mount. It can be overwhelming if you draw too much attention to it, and so I like that he didn't. Because this mount has so many cracks and deep lines into it, you did an all-over wash, which is not a bad call to do, because that's a lot of square footage to cover with all that recessed detail. But I feel like you lost a lot of purity in color. You lost a lot of true tones and you lost a lot of depth by not going back and reworking those and building them back up to a color purity not touched by the wash. And just a bit, especially more focused towards his face, more focused towards like his shoulders where they meet the rider. Bringing back more of that yellow so it's not as blown out by that brown is probably a good direction to take.
Yeah, and I think to dovetail off of that, like what are some ways that you could bring back some of that gray? This dragon is so textured that I feel like with our modern dry brushing tech, I feel like it would do really well to bring back some of that vibrancy of that lime green color, or kind of more of a muted lime green color. Alternatively, to not dilute the color in the first place, the grooves on this dragon's skin are so deep that a pin wash with enamel paint or oil paint might have done a good job to like avoid getting wash on the surface of those flat volumes. It might not have worked very well with the wings because the wings do have some deep grooves, but also a lot of shallow grooves where like the membrane is being stretched. So the wings might have struggled a little bit with an oil wash. Not that the oil wash couldn't do it, but an oil wash requires some knowledge about how to deal with those types of areas. That's not super obvious. But with those cracks in the skin, that would have been just absolute magic.
Can you think of how much of an expert you'd be in pin washing by the time you finished that dragon?
Yeah.
Like you'd know the exact oil paint dilution. You'd know exactly how much you load the brush. You'd know exactly how long you hold down the tip onto it and let it flood out. Like you'd be really good by the end by doing this one model. And that got to be so goddamn satisfying to do.
It would be. This guy's like basically a checkerboard of recess shading. Yeah, he's got so many lines on him.
Yes, I do appreciate looking at one of the pictures is the up close of the dragon's head. There is work and attention placed on this dragon's head. The thing that I really like, he's got that like scar, 3 claw mark scar across his jaw, and it's darker red on the outsides, and it's a lighter pink on the insides.
Yes.
Well done, my duder. Well done. That looks really, really good.
Yeah, I love that. If you wanted to maybe like add a little bit to the gross factor, you could like maybe add some kind of like spittle on the teeth, like connecting to the jaw, like the upper jaw a little bit to kind of give it like a monster vibe a little bit more. I love the cream color. I kind of feel like you used maybe like a Thonian camo shade because the cream does seem a little bit green, but I would kind of love that cream color to get pushed in a colorful direction a little bit more. And there's kind of 2 options that I see. Maybe you could give it more of a green hue so that it would kind of match up with the green a little bit more, or you could go into more of like a red, magenta, a warm area, because you kind of got that with the ears and the scar tissue already, and then it would contrast the green really nicely. And you don't want to go too far. You don't want to be like pink, but you want there to be like some kind of red suggestion a little bit.
Yeah, you get that Carroburg crimson, baby. It's all about a little. You have that faintly in there, and then you can feather out the edges with pure water, and you get that warmth of that crimson red tone. I agree. That's what I was thinking as well. And why not both? Maybe where it meets the scales, you can add a little bit of green, but it gets to the underbelly and areas further away from these defined scales, then you add that warmth. And green and red are complementary colors, so it all pulls together. Let's talk real quickly about the rider. I feel like I want that green skin of that orc, especially on his face, pushed. Push it to the limit. Go adding some like ice yellow or even some really peachy, bright pink skin tone to your green mix as you highlight up his face will bring that warmth of it being actual flesh while keeping still a bit of that green in those highlights. That'll bring life to that skin. So his whole brow, forehead, nose, right under his eyes, and his upper lip, like boosting those up, tips of his ears brighter and brighter, because we need our eye drawn to this point. The green starts it, but we need to make this the focus of the entire piece.
Yeah, and I love that suggestion as well, and I'm going to give you like advice on how to execute that idea, because I had something that I had to do similar for my green Cawdor guys. They had pink candle flames that had some OSL like on their shoulders, and my first thought, and maybe it's your first thought as well, Sean, would be to mix that pinky flesh tone into the green, and that does work. You will eventually get to pink, but in such a small area, you have to go through so many transitioning colors of like these grays and these browns and this brown, whatever it may be. So what I would do on like the lips and maybe like the knuckles and maybe like the nose a little bit is you could like highlight it with a very bright off-white green, like kind of awkwardly like bright, and then glaze over top of it with a pink color. And you'll get this like border where the glaze hits the normal green skin, and it kind of creates this muddy transition color. And then once it hits that kind of more whiter color, it'll be more pure pink, but still a little bit of green mixed in there. And that'll be a little bit faster and easier to get those like small little areas of transition from two complementary colors, green to pink, blue to orange, yellow to purple, those kinds of transitions.
Yeah, that's great advice. That is something I often need to heed myself as I go through these multiple transitions, especially in smaller areas, when in actuality just like over accentuating, not adding color depth, and then glazing in that color depth later is often a better solution, quicker solution, and more dramatic solution that gets the results you're looking for. Thank you, Sean, aka Prehistoric Painting on Instagram. We appreciate you being a patron, and hope all the goody peepees know that they can do the same. TUP Partners numero dos, the Army Painter. You may have heard of the Army Painter. They make paints, they make paint brushes, they make all sorts of good things for the hobby. They now have a historical set of paints. I don't know if you've heard about this, Scott, but they're not just for historicals, but they have all sorts of really good, like, interesting tones in those greenish grays, in those ochreish browns, and really natural tones that I find like, ooh, I really like to use. So check those out if you haven't. Make sure you check out the Fanatics range if you haven't.
And next on the list is Red Grass Games, and they want to call to attention their R9 Solo desk lamp, which is it's a smaller, less expensive version of their bigger and awesome lamp that I have that they sent to me. Amazing color accuracy. I love the form factor of it being 2 bars that you can kind of stare through. The R9 Solo has a lot of the same features of the bigger cousin of it, at a smaller, more portable package and a cheaper package as well. A lot of great stuff going on at Red Grass Games, not just desk lamps, web palettes, miniature holders, all kinds of great accessories for the hobby.
I just placed an order with Red Grass to try out their nippers and to try out their sable paintbrushes.
Oh, yeah, the orange-handled nippers?
Yes. Yeah, I've never tried those, but I heard really good things. So
they're
we'll
good.
Report back on that, but good stuff there. Next up is Steamforged Games. Steamforged Games make games. They also make hobby products as well. The P3 paints. I brought the P3 paints to Nova to have my classes use them, and students loved them for wet blending and their ability to hold both true opacity to build up vibrant colors as well as for glazing. Try out P3. Wave 2 late backers are open for the Wave 2 set as well as Wave 1.
And lastly, in this segment, we'll talk about Corvus Belli, maker of Infinity, maker of Warcrow. If you want a little bit of a different sci-fi skirmish game from the typical games that you normally experience at your game stores, Infinity can kind of give you that fun experience. It's super crunchy. It's super detailed. John painted one of the minis for this past 2 weeks. What was the name of that model?
Long Wang.
Long Wang! So if you want to get Long Wang and also other fantastic cyberpunk sci-fi miniatures, check out Infinity from Corvus Belli. All right!
You hear to her first. You too can get a Long Wang. All it takes all it takes is like $20.
Yeah. Just $20 and a pill. All right. Anyways. Okay. On to the main topic. We're talking about classes today. So the title of this episode is, Are Painting Classes Even Worth It? There are a lot of questions to ask with painting classes. Who do I take a class from? What topics are good? Like that we want to kind of go over in today's episode.
Yeah. This is something that I think is not really talked about. It's not like people all think about it and just choose not to talk about it, but I think there's a lot of valuable takeaways that we could get from this. And I think like a good place to start is the question, aren't YouTube videos just enough, right? If I can get my learning through virtual means, through watching YouTube videos or shorts or reading a breakdown via pictures and text, isn't that enough?
Yeah.
Short answer is yes and no. It's a different medium. It's kind of like saying, you know, if I have cow's milk, do I also need almond milk?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I feel like the biggest difference between YouTube videos and classes, there's a lot of obvious ones, like it's in person. You can ask questions to the teacher. I think the biggest difference is that the goals are different, right? So
Yeah.
with a lot of YouTube videos, there is some educational goals. Like we're often trying to teach something about painting and about how paint behaves and stuff like that. But also at the same time, we're being pulled in another direction. That's the direction of being entertaining, And so with a class, maybe you want some entertainment in there. It's better if you have a teacher who's charismatic and you want to listen to. But also at the same time, the pendulum is pushed a lot more in the educational direction. So for people who want that more educational focused experiences, classes are going to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is there's a level of onus. There's a level of responsibility to yourself. There's a level of understanding that I'm going to have to actually do some painting or execute in my time in this class, as opposed to we can sit and watch a video that's teaching us something and not feel like we need to act on it. And maybe we never act on it. Or maybe because we watch the video and don't put it into practice in the moment, we don't get that part of our long-term memory. We don't get a connection to that. Now we have that catalog to go back to and be like, oh yeah, I watched a video. A Vince video talked about this thing. I'm gonna go back and rewatch it while I need to paint a model what I want to do that on. And that's great to be able to kind of offload that data to somewhere online that you can reference later. So there is value there. But I think YouTube is often about accessibility, breaking down the walls of you can do this, and here's the technical breakdowns of certain things and how it's done. But it's almost like building your own reservoir of knowledge that you can pull on later. You are digging a well and putting in the well line, but you're not actually pumping any water yet. When you're in person, you're required to pump the buckets full of water there. So you have to be engaged and involved, and you get that real-time feedback right over your shoulder, answering your questions, giving you advice, showing what you're doing, asking you to try something slightly different. Because when you're just having a YouTube video, if Scott is teaching you something in a video, he can't see you trying it at home and identifying things that you're goofing up on or a slight tweak you could make that will make it so much easier for you, or you suddenly will get it, or you'll suddenly have success when just watching Scott on video and then trying it yourself. Even if his video is perfect in explaining and executing, there is always a jump, a bridge to actually doing it yourself, and you don't get that real world feedback.
Yeah. So there's a lot of educational opportunities that we alluded to earlier in the topic, which YouTube videos, there's also written PDFs. There's also virtual coaching. People have a lot of Patreons where you can go and get feedback from someone online. And it's also recorded masterclasses. I've made some. John has helped me make some as a host of my masterclasses. And what John is mentioning right now is just really the main difference between in-person classes. That's real-time feedback and application. There's a really fast, rapid cycle of that happening in person in the span of 2 hours or maybe a full day, depending on what the kind of class it is. So that really is the main video. So to briefly answer the question, are painting classes even worth it? They absolutely are, just for that feedback cycle. But there's a lot of there's a lot of things you have to think about when picking a class. And really, the advice that I've always given, and I still think is true, is if it's not about topic selection, it's like maybe it is a little bit, So let's say you're going to Adepticon, you see the list of classes, and you see there's maybe 10 of them that are about NMM, and you personally want to learn NMM. I think a great litmus test for which person's NMM class you can take is, do you like their outcomes? Like, go and find the class teacher, find their Instagram, find their Facebook account, whatever it is, and see what they can produce. And if you like what their NMM looks like, that is a step in the right direction for this class being worthwhile for you. Because I can't tell you how many times I've not done that and just saw a name that I recognized and was like, okay, I know this person. Like, I want to take this class. And then I'll take that class, and I'm like, actually, you know what? I don't like how they paint. I don't like I don't like their outcomes. And when you're learning new stuff, I think it's important to get the tools that you want to create the outcomes that you want as well. Like, there is something to be said about trying out new things and being exposed to new ideas in the hobby. That's also an important thing. But I think it's just important to understand what your goals are to avoid being disappointed. And part of that comes down to the outcome the teacher is able to produce.
Yeah, I think that is one of the factors I think that's really valuable, and at least helping you decide. If you're like, okay, I decide I want to take a painting class. I want to see how it's different. I want to see if it helps level me up in a way that just YouTube videos won't. And I do want to put a real quick step back to say, by saying yes, painting classes in person are valuable, we are not saying you can't improve, you can't get to the highest level, you can't reach your own peak with only YouTube. I think you can. But I think you can if you're willing to put in probably a bit more work and a bit more hours, because you're not getting that personal feedback on what you're doing and pushing you and asking you to try something different. You're only relying on feedback of friends, feedback of internet groups, your own eye, that kind of a thing. But do not feel like, well, I can't afford to take painting classes in person. There's none near me, or I don't really have an interest in it. That means you're not going to be a good painter, or you can't grow, and you can't develop your own style. You absolutely can do those things.
Absolutely.
But going back to taking an in-person class, number one, like Scott said, it's really important to see the teacher should excite you in their work, whether or not it's that's exactly how I want to paint, or there's an aspect to their painting that I really enjoy, whether it's that, or it's just I really respect their style, even if it's not what I particularly like. I'm curious about how their brain works about it. Sometimes that's good too. The other thing that I look to when deciding when taking a class, and I often will prioritize this one over the other, is, can I resonate with their communication style? Does the way that they talk, they teach, their digital approach that I can find on the internet, is it something that resonates with me or helps me learn, or it feels like there's not a barrier there that would impede me getting the most out of this class? That's who you want to take a class from. Just about every single teacher, if you go to a convention or they have people that come to local stores, they have some form of them teaching virtually that you can have access to. Whether it's going to their Twitch stream, a lot of people, they do their Twitch streaming, hang out in their Twitch stream, watch how they paint, watch how they talk about what they're doing. Watch about, is the way that they describe what they're doing while they're doing it, does that resonate with me? Does it seem effortless? Does it seem confusing? Okay. If they have videos, is their personality or the way that they approach painting, or is it welcoming to you? Does it feel like I'm going to get more out of this because of who they are? Are they super crunchy and very technical and very almost giving a lecture style? Is that how you learn? Because if that's how their communication style and how they approach things is shown in what you can find online, you're going to have to expect that in person. So don't expect that they're going to be an entirely different kind of person or a different mode of teaching in person than they are what you can find. So I suggest you do a little bit of research too. And don't wait for a convention to see who's teaching there to start thinking about this. You know, if you're like, oh yeah, I really like their art, or I know that they often teach at classes, or I know that they taught at Adepticon last year, do that now before, you know, you're on the clock to pick your classes for next year, right? Because oftentimes that's that rush of I got to pick quick, and you know, you may end up find yourself frustrated. That's like, well, that's not exactly what I would want, but you could have made a more informed decision, and then just hope that the class wasn't sold out too quick.
Yeah, that's honestly great advice, because like there are so many places online where people are going to talk about, you know, their version of miniature painting education, like even on their own Instagram. You know, they might have done like a live stream on Instagram, or they might have posted a video on Instagram of them, you know, of a shop over their shoulder and some brief narration. Like there's just so many places where people are uploading content of themselves painting and talking about miniature painting, especially if they are a teacher already in the first place. And that is a great way to kind of figure out if someone is going to resonate with you. Yeah.
One thing I will say to keep in mind on this is to kind of temper your expectations. Like everything in life, being awesome at a thing does not make you an awesome teacher at that thing.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the cold, hard truth of the matter, is that every one of us that have taken a lot of classes by a lot of different amazing artists and different teachers, our most memorable, our most takeaway ones are not necessarily from the most award-winning painters or the best painters in the world. Because just because you're awesome at a thing does not mean you're an awesome teacher at the thing.
Yeah.
So this is where going back to like, what is their communication style like? How do they approach topics? How do they make it digestible for you? And if you can't find any version of that out there, that probably means they're not comfortable communicating in that way online, which means it's likely to be rough in person. Because if I know I really like to talk about painting NMM, if I post a short on Instagram, I'm going to have my voice over the top talking about it because I'm excited about it and I want to talk and communicate it. If they don't offer that out there, there's probably a reason. And that doesn't mean they're a bad teacher. That doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. All that means is like different skill sets aid in different ways. And so just temper your expectations. Be like, I love them. They are one of my favorite painters or my most favorite painter, and I just want to go absorb. But who knows what that'll look like, right? Try to find the good, the things that you really want to get into, what you're excited about, and that's the reason why you purchase a ticket for them.
Yeah. I think another reason to temper your expectations is that I feel like a lot of people take classes for the first time, or they'll take a class from someone they really admire for the first time, and they just have sky high expectations. Like maybe you plateaued in your skill level for a long time and you feel like this is the answer to your problems, and you're just disappointed. Like when really all you walk away with is just like a couple, like maybe like 3 to 6 great tips. Like, okay, I'm going to try that out in my next thing. That for me, far and away, that is what my experience with painting classes has been. I feel like maybe one time I felt like I was given groundbreaking information, and I've taken between 10 and 15 different classes from different people of different skill levels. And I feel like it's very more often the fact that you're going to have nice tidbits of info. So I think tempering your expectation with that going to be the outcome is going to result in you feeling like you had a much more worthwhile experience.
Yes, absolutely. That is such an important thing. I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's the same as like you see those ads where it's like work from home 5 days a week, make $100,000 a year. That's the equivalent of what our expectations are going to a miniature painting class. They're like, I paint all the time. I feel like I hit a plateau. I can't get the next level. I want to work from home 5 hours a week and make $100,000 a year. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
There is no 2 to 4 hour class that short period of time is going to skyrocket you to the moon in your painting abilities. Mm-hmm. It's just not possible. That is not how. It's like expecting to take a 2-hour class from Jimi Hendrix when you're a novice guitar player, and you're going to expect to be able to, do the solo from Stairway to Heaven and like perfectly. Like it's just not possible. It's not how any of this works. It's just that like you have those tempered expectations. And I think the best classes, and I think the best way to approach a class go hand in hand, is 1 to 3 things, no matter the length of the class, honestly, whether it's a 2-hour class or a 2 8-hour day class, 1 to 3 things. I want to walk away with 1 to 3 concrete things that I'm confident in now, that I can replicate at home, and that I can practice, and I can take away from this class. And if I'm teaching a class, I want to have them walk away with 1 to 3 things. That way, I am not inundating you with 1,000 things and all these different topics and all these different subjects, because it all becomes noise. And you don't remember any of it because it doesn't stick with you. And you can touch on these other little things and being like, oh yeah, because there's a reflection here because it's a shinier surface, but we're not balls deep in NMM. We're focusing just on X today. And not even just like we're focusing about light in this class, not even that counting as one thing, because that's too big of a one thing. Like, what are the tangible takeaways, these 1 to 3 things that in that class I am going to do? And that's why I think it's really cool to take notes. I think it's good to have a notebook or have a notes app on your phone, and just what were those 1 to 2 things and a couple of little lines of reminder text to yourself that they said, because you're not going to remember it all, but there are some great nuggets that were brought over. And then I can reference that is when I get my time to paint and the teacher's coming around, I can re-ask a question related to one of those things that they said while they're over my shoulder and painting. And I can really reinforce the things that let them sink in so I can replicate them at home. The whole purpose of a miniature painting class is for you to get enough confidence that you can go home in a week from now, you can try it again, and you don't need the teacher over your shoulder for you to feel confident that you can do it.
Yeah.
That's my approach. I'm not saying that's the only way that I think classes should be taught, but that's what I think really is valuable and I think can equal success. Is, can I attempt it at home with enough confidence to be willing to give it another try? Because you give it another try, that's where the actual improvement happens, is doing it at home now that you feel confidence and you ask the questions and you got the feedback.
Yeah, the application of the knowledge, 100%.
Yes.
You know, one thing that you said that made me have another thought about classes is that you're going to find classes that are various lengths, you know, between 1 hour and 16 hours, 2 full 8-hour days. You know, that's kind of a classic hardcore painting class, is a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, 8 hours each day.
And we taught such a class.
We
together,
have,
didn't we?
We have. And what I want to say about that is, again, another level setting expectation thing, is that the class, even though it is long, the amount you learn is not necessarily relative to the length of the class. So you will, like, actually in our class, we have this whole first day where we go over technique, and then the whole next day is painting the model, which then discusses other things that are more specific, like face painting and like painting silk, for instance, and stuff. But most classes, I don't think, operate like that. The reason why they are long is because miniature painting takes a long time, and you just need to give students the time to paint a 32 millimeter model. Like, if your goal is to finish the whole miniature or a lot of the miniature, and it's a large scale model, or even if it's smaller, it takes a long time. And so a lot of time is just spent painting the figure. And the reason why that's valuable is because just in painting the figure, you run into so many scenarios that you would not have run into if you just painted a sword blade or an arm or like a standard 3D volume. But the thing you get most value out of is then asking questions. So it's like if you run into a part of the model that you often have a hard time with, like a cape, for instance. Like, capes have tubes that run vertically up and down, which can be kind of confusing to paint considering how light sources function top to bottom. And so, like, that is your opportunity now that you're painting a model with a cape to ask a question about that, or even better, hopefully the teacher just has information about that already because they know it's an issue. But that, I kind of wanted to set some expectations regarding class length and education content. Oftentimes length is there just to give time to paint models because it takes a while. Yeah,
that's a good talking point. When you're looking at classes and, you know, you're like, oh, I have these options. This one's a 2-hour class. This one's a 4-hour class. This one's an 8-hour class. You know, especially at a convention, you get all these options. You're like, oh, which one will I take? Longer doesn't mean better, but shorter doesn't mean better either. It's there's a lot of other factors that go into that. And I think this is a good kind of time to talk about specifically at a convention, because I think majority of people, when they take a painting class, it's going to be at a convention or a similar type of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes people come to a city and they're like, I'm having classes because Sam was just in Montreal, right? I'm coming to Montreal. I'm teaching a class, whatever. It's a 1 day, 2 day class, whatever. So that's an option. Those are great. Convention's a different animal, though, because you're not just there for the class. You're doing other things. There's all these others. There's all this shopping going on. There's I gotta go walk around. It's a different city. There's a painting competition. Maybe I want to play some games. Maybe I want to meet up with some people from so and so's Discord. All these things that are going on. So it's already a high energy, exciting thing. It's awesome to be there. You're amongst your fellow goody peepee. It's a great experience. And a class is so different than that energy.
Yes. That's actually a great thing to discuss, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like saying, hey, guys, you want to go to the Metallica concert tonight? But between the opening act, when Godsmack is done, but before Metallica starts, we're going to go into a van and do Bible study for an hour, and then we're going to go back to the concert. Like, it's just a totally fucking different energy.
Yeah.
And be aware of that first and foremost, because you almost have to like get your mind right. A lot of us fucking old people too, we haven't been in a structured education setting in many years. And
Wow,
it is that, right? And not only is that kind of a setting that most of us are not super familiar with, for a number of years or maybe decades, but it's also in a high energy, exciting, sweaty nerd environment too.
Yeah.
So mentally prepare yourself, right? I usually say you don't have to go and sit in the class, because sometimes the rooms turn over pretty quickly. You don't get to be there early. But like 30 minutes before the class, find out where it is and hang out there and kind of like get your energy level down, get your chill level down. Get your mind right. Make sure you found something to eat. Make sure you're plenty hydrated. Drink a thing of water. Go pee. All these kinds of things to kind of like get into a state where you're not, overly excitable, overly, all sorts of factors are grabbing your attention, and ready to relax and learn. That's a big thing, because it's otherwise, every time I teach, students are running in and they're just kind of like high energy, and they're like frantic, or they're frazzled because they just ran from another event. Or they didn't know where it was. They sit down and they look at you and they're basically cross-eyed because they're not mentally like locked in for what this kind of setting is. Yeah. So let yourself ease into that. I think that's a big thing. Related.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, so sure. Regarding what you just said, I'm curious, do you think it'd be a good idea as an educator? I've never thought to do this, just to like that be like the first message that you give to your students. Okay, we're all very excited to be here at Nova Open. Like maybe you're excited to like meet your friends and things, but now we're going to enter into an educational realm. We want to bring the energy down. We want to focus really hard on what's being said so we can get the most out of this. Something like that. I don't know if it needs to be that pretentious, but like is that worthwhile to like just kind of like state that out loud?
It needs to be more pretentious than that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a great thing. Actually, I almost think that like it start as like let's do a little breathing, right? Just like through the nose, out the mouth.
Yeah.
Get all the jitters out. Get to a relaxed state. Mm-hmm. Because the first thing I always say in a class is, this class is X hours. Say it's a 2-hour class. This class is 2 hours. This is your 2 hours. My job is to help you learn the best way that you learn over the next 2 hours. No question is off limits. There are no such thing as bad comments and bad questions. I want this to be a good experience for you. So if I start with that, while we're like, I want you to practice just some calming breaths, and then I say that line, I think by the time we do that, I think we're then ready to learn. Okay. So I think it could go in conjunction with like your opening statement of like, yeah, let's set our minds and set our expectations and set ourselves in a good, positive place you know.
Okay.
Because if you're frazzled, if you're high anxiety because of everything else that's, you know, going on in a big event like this, you're going into the learning in not a clear state, and you're not going to get as much out of it if it takes you the first hour to get there, you know.
Yes.
So that's a big one.
Okay.
Other part about conventions happens every single time. I know you've experienced this too, Scott. There's always the people that say, I have 6 classes this convention. I have 8 classes this convention. I think the most that I saw at Adepticon this last year was 12 classes. You're not going to remember shit from any of that. That's fucking stupid. Like, oh yeah, it's like saying, hey, over the next 3 days, I'm going to take back-to-back classes on economics, on world history from 1715 to 1776, on the history and biology of orangutans, on like the Pythagorean's theorem. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're not going to remember any of that shit. Like, give yourself room to mentally absorb, to breathe, to experience, to get a different set of environments, to enjoy to enjoy the freaking convention.
Yes.
It's almost always, I mean, I'd say almost, I think it's probably always, it's first time goers that they pack their calendar with classes. Do not overdo it. I usually say 1 a day is a good thing. Now, if it's a 4-day convention, Adepticon Thursday through Sunday, if it's a 4-day convention, maximum 4 classes, and even then I usually think it's probably about 3 is about the right number, but you can do 4. If you end up taking 2 in the same day, because I really wanted classes from the teachers, is the only way I could do it is in the same day, then that means you need to give yourself 1 day with nothing to absorb, to think about. Maybe even if I don't want to be social that whole day, I'm going to go to the painters hangout area, and I'm going to keep working on the model that I started painting in the class. And so see if I can kind of get some reps in while it's still fresh in my brain, and check my notes and that kind of thing, and kind of de-stress from all of the outward, you know, sounds and sights of everything in the con. Like, then take that day, a chunk of that day, to do that instead. But don't over inundate yourself.
Yeah. And so we talked a lot about classes that happen at miniature painting conventions, but I think it's worth to talk about classes that happen at other places, sometimes game stores. So I think it's a really good thing to think about where a class is taking place. Because I've been in a class before where the environment ruins the experience for me because it is too noisy, it is too loud, and it's not a spot for learning, you know?
So distracting.
So distracting, yeah. Game stores are, to me, a red flag for a painting class. Some game stores have wonderful separate spaces for, you know,
separate space,
doing D&D sessions or doing any number of, you know, geeky related events. And that is absolutely essential for a good educational experience, because just like trying to focus on what's being said, applying it, all these things, you do not need some fucking 14-year-old screaming about Squirtle in the background, you know, like it is going to drive you crazy. I know from experience. So yeah, I think it's really important when you're picking out a class and when you're, you know, trying to figure out what works for you, that you identify that it is in a good space. Most conventions obviously have separate rooms. It works great all the time, so you don't gotta think about it too much when you're at a convention. But when you're doing like a standalone weekend class or a day-long class at some place, make sure to check out where it's actually taking place.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't succeed in your calculus class in high school if the class took place at the food court at the mall. So why would you expect that it would work well in the middle of a game store during business hours?
Yeah.
Where a mom is walking with her kids screaming to pick up Pokemon packs.
Yeah.
And she's looking over at you like, what are you weirdos doing?
Yeah.
On
a weekend.
On a weekend.
Yeah.
Even if your teacher can block that out, you can't expect your students to.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to them, is that you're taking their time and you're paying for the class, that the setting is right. So that's one thing to check for when you are thinking about taking a class that's maybe local, or you're traveling to a nearby city because you hear somebody's coming to teach and you want to take their class. Dig into that. Find out where it's being hosted at. Find out some of those kinds of specifics. Sometimes it's good to put that detail, if you are teaching a class, to make sure they put that detail. It's in it's in its own room, closable door, so we're not going to have outside influence and that kind of stuff. Plenty of space for all the students, that kind of thing. So that kind of thing. So yeah, that is a really good point, and that is something that you do not think about until you experience it for the first time, and you're like, "Fuck me."
Yeah. And I mean, maybe I'm getting a little bit too into like best practices for taking a class, and not necessarily answering the question like,
is it worth it?
Our class is worth it, but I feel like this is worthwhile to talk about. To get the best experience when taking a class is to really look at what you need to bring to the class. Because I feel like a lot of things are helpful and necessary, and a lot of things aren't helpful. I think at cons especially, because people just love to over prepare and bring too much stuff, and it just makes the experience so challenging because they have to carry around their giant Home Depot tool chest full of every single hobby paint that they actually own. And it's like, do you actually need all that? That's tough. Or the flip side happens. You'll come to a 2-day long class and you didn't read the what's required. You don't have a fucking light. You don't have a wet palette. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Dude, my experience, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
50% are over-prepared. 50% looks like they just fucking got off the city bus and have nothing to their name.
Yes.
There is no in between.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes. What I usually tell students, I think this is a kind of a good thing. Again, and I think you're right that what we're trying to do, and we're kind of digging in the weeds here a little bit, is like we're trying to set you up for success. So if you take a class, these are going to help make it a worthwhile experience.
Yes.
If some of these things are out of whack, you could have a not good experience, and it was something that was preventable. You just didn't know about it. So I usually say bring the bare minimum to make it feel like what you paint like at home. If you use sexy gogs, bring your exact sexy gogs. Bring the paint brushes that you paint with. Bring the wet palette that you use at home. I usually don't worry about paint so much. And usually I want the venue to give great lighting. I want the venue to have water cups and paper towels and that kind of stuff, and have some form of paint. It's not a terrible idea if there's a one paint brand I really enjoy using the most. Bring like 5 bottles of it in a Ziploc bag. So you have something to lean on that you could do it. And it's like, oh, maybe I'll just take 5 colors from one of John's color cards. So I know it's a color scheme that those 5 colors would work really well. And then I'd have something with me, right?
Yeah.
Or colors, I got ice yellow, I got dark sea blue, I got sunny skin tone, all in AK 3rd gen. I can't go that wrong, baby.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. But yeah, don't bring all your paints. Don't bring 100 brushes.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But
And the
yes.
the reason why I bring that up is because there are a lot of creative educational opportunities out there. Like if you want to go and learn how to paint watercolor and you want to do all these different things. And I think the world of those types of creative classes have a different set of expectations than the miniature painting world. And sometimes if you come from that world to mini painting classes, you can be a little disappointed. So for instance, when I put out a survey about like what would be your expectations for a mini painting class, and because I have a YouTube channel and I have a larger audience that's not just people who have been to mini painting classes, which is a small category of people, I got a lot of feedback that I didn't expect. And one of those things was, I expect you as the person running the class to provide all the tools and materials for that class. And that's why I'm saying look into what the class requires you to bring, because very often that is not how miniature painting classes are set up. They are not going to give you a little box of paints to then take home with you, which has a paintbrush in it. Like I think most times you're going to have a miniature. You might have a person walk around with a paint bottle and squirt it on your palette to use the specific color if there's a certain color that needs to be used and stuff like that. So it's important, again, for more expectation setting to understand what's needed for you to bring to, again, have the best experience.
Yeah. I'm usually an over preparer, and if I'm not sure, if it's not clear, I will bring everything myself. And I think that's, if you can do it, if you're not flying, because usually physical space is a big part of this, is, dumping all your paints, but like bring a small selection. But like the big one that I find that can make or break is if they don't have a painting light and I didn't bring a painting light. Like if I don't have any kind of light to paint under other than what's in this freaking room,
Yeah.
you're so fucked. It's just like throw your money out the fucking window because you can't see. Like, how are you expected to actually, try to learn and try to replicate and get good feedback from the teacher? Luckily, at the conventions now, Nova, Adepticon, like the expectations is, and they've got these awesome companies like Redgrass Games and Game Envy that supply amazing lights for the painting classes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So by and large, if you're going to a bigger convention, you don't have to worry about lights. And even at Nova, Redgrass Games supplied wet palettes for every station.
That's awesome.
So you didn't even need a wet palette.
That's awesome.
But if you're not going to a major convention, double check their email or the specifics on the class. And if you're not sure and you're able to, bring a wet palette, bring a light. I know it sucks to have to bring a light, but like it's worse. It's a lot better than not having any light there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Let's quickly talk about virtual coaching and virtual classes.
Okay.
Because it's a different animal. Sometimes people think like, well, I could take an in-person class, or like I can do one-on-one coaching through someone's Patreon and stuff. And that is your camera.
Please
come back to me. Nothing is wrong here. It's just getting some fucking crotch shots. It's fun.
I've caught you. Yes.
Follow me. Follow me, camera.
Okay. What the heck?
My eyes are up here.
Yeah.
It's incorrect to think that a virtual coaching and an in-person class are the same thing. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other, or one simply, is just does all the things to a higher level. They're just a different animal. With a virtual coaching or a virtual class, you do not get that over that shoulder, that holding your miniature, the looking at under the same light, the being able to show you with real brush strokes, the teacher, physically being there. And so you can see some things that are just not able to be processed over a screen. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But what a virtual coaching or virtual classes can do is they can give you still that real-time feedback. It's turning this closed loop of one-way communication and making it two-way. Yeah. It's like, okay, now I can see your model. Now there are a lot of variables in the seeing of your model that may not be accurate because you're relying on your camera, your webcam, the quality of the pictures or video that you're showing. Oftentimes it's complete shit. If you're relying on this, what I'm doing right here, which most times what you rely on, I'm holding up a model to my webcam. Do you expect your fucking teacher to be able to actually look at that thing and give you solid feedback and response? Or the average pictures that we get from people that submit their models for critiques, at least 50% of those, the pictures are not of a quality for me to have any confidence of most of the minutia stuff. High level stuff, you need more highlights. You need more contrast. You need, basic things we can give feedback on. I can't, other than high level, you can't do that. I can't give you in-depth feedback.
Yeah.
You're really relying on technology from student and teacher to be a very high level to be able to get more in-depth stuff.
Yeah. Even if you take away like the real-time feedback, which like to briefly talk about that, there are just things that you don't know, like that as a novice miniature painter, that you would never have thought about, like how much paint to put in a brush, or how often to clean your brush to resharpen the tip, or how like exactly how much to dilute the paint. Like when you see a behavior happening on the model, like it's really easy as someone who's experienced to know, okay, this paint's a little bit too wet, it's a little bit too thick, I need to adjust it a little bit. But if you don't know those things, you don't even know where you're messing up. But like even barring that kind of feedback, like John's completely right. Like the super nitty gritty hardcore feedback is not even possible with like webcams and pictures unless you really know what you're doing with a camera and miniature painting, which is like it's like a kind of its own hobby. Yeah, just like understanding photography and how to hold the model, where to put the light, stuff like that.
How much light you need and quality of light you need and all that. Yeah, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult.
Right.
That said, there is amazing things that you can get out of virtual coaching and virtual classes. And that is that communication loop of your teacher should have a high quality setup with camera. And I think one of the best things you can do is have the teacher talk about and showcase a technique, and you have real time. What are you doing there? Why are you doing that? How much are you doing that? Like a constant stream of communications and Q&A that you get to really absorb the kinds of things questions you want to ask while watching a YouTube video that you simply don't get that real world response and feedback. This is your opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what you really can take advantage of there, and you can, it can flip around the other way. If you have a decent camera setup and just like you're streaming yourself, and your teacher could do the same for you. And they're like, look at that bulb that's formed on the end of your brush. It's too much paint there. You're like, oh, yeah, you're never going to have crisp, clean lines when it's overloaded with brush. Like, you can see the things. They can help you with some of those things, but they're usually pretty obvious or basic things. Still good things. But again, you're relying on the technology. And that can be tough, but still good, and they're more accessible, right? You can, in theory, if they offer this, doesn't matter where in the world you are, you can get access. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. And I think a great way to figure out if like someone is going to give you a good virtual coaching experience is if they have done it in the past, but more specifically, if they have a Patreon where they're doing that thing month after month, then they have some kind of setup that is going to be better for it. They're not figuring out how to do it for the first time and stuff like that. So that's a great thing to look into. We talked about teaching style, painting style, but also if someone's already doing the thing that they're going to be selling, or close to it, that's another great indicator that someone's going to give you a better experience.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, again, doing a little bit of homework, just like in anything. You do a little bit of research, a little bit of homework is going to help you with that.
Yeah.
The last thing we wanted to touch on in terms of trying to hit every possible area for the education side of miniature painting are recorded master classes / long form video. I can tell you that people request unedited footage. Show me everything that you painted. Show me all 40 hours that you've ever recorded for painting your golden demon. And I put that up. And nobody watches it.
Dude, yeah.
And it's not valuable because it's so hard to actually take stuff away from that long period of time. So I think just strictly long form, there is a very, very important key thing. And it's something that you did in your classes when you've done your master classes, Scott, but I think it's more the rarity than the rule, is you have a tight, well thought out, well edited, well revised script.
Yeah.
A long as fuck script. Because these are a lot of videos. It's long. There's a lot going on. You need to be specific. You need to be able to communicate things as clearly as you can. You're taking more time to show the process over and over again. But you're not wasting that dead air. You're using that to use the audio to accentuate, to get more depth in education. That is so much fucking work. To make those is, I mean, some people, I see so many of them that are out there, and I'm like, there's no possible way you could have that many master classes in a year.
No.
To a high quality. There's no way.
Yeah.
That's two people's full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting painting the model. Like,
yeah.
The good thing is like, if you purchase a master class, you can buy one and you can see you see if it's worth the juice is worth the squeeze to find out if you want to go back to that person. But you need to look for those things. Like, does it personally connect with you? Do I feel like all the communications with the visual are matching up and I'm taking things away? Because I can go back and rewind and rewatch and re-listen. But it's got to be there in the first place. If it's not there, I can't rewatch it 20 times with, just like background music playing and actually learning something, Yeah. I usually find that's one of the biggest things with this hobby and sticking with education is the combo platter of visual plus audio learning.
Yeah.
Layered on top of each other together is what really can stick, at least in my brain, as somebody trying to learn.
Yeah. And I just want to give a quick comparison. A typical YouTube video of mine might be 1,800, 2,500 words, somewhere in there. My most recent Ranger Masterclass course is 26,000 words. It is over 10 times the length of the longer YouTube scripts. So there's a lot of content in there. And I try to do both. You know, I have, if you want to watch me paint like at 250% speed with minimal narration, like I include all the painting footage of an entire section, including the highly scripted and edited painting stuff. But you're totally right. I mean, as part of my Patreon, I make an extended painting video for all my models, and they get like 10, 15 views. And it's like, dude, what? I think it's just, I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth it. I'm not even sure if I should keep doing it, honestly, because I don't even know if it really gives any value educationally.
Yeah. I mean, and to give a little perspective, that the amount of words that you talked about, something like 26,000 words, that's unlike single spaced. That's somewhere between 60 and 80 pages.
Yeah, dude. Like you're sitting down and you're recording this thing for like 2 fucking days straight. It's like it's so many words to say. It's intense.
It is a lot. But like that is a different way of learning, and for some that may just like it just doesn't resonate with me. But I think you should check it out.
Yeah,
I think you should find it out if it is good. For some people, it may be their best way or their favorite way or their most impactful way to learn. And that's the nice thing. And it's kind of what we ended up talking about here today. And this topic was, are painting classes worth it? But we actually ended up breaking it down into the different ways to learn miniature painting that are the most common or the most accessible or the most like valuable, whatever, in the hobby and how they work. And that there's not like a tier list necessarily. And there's no S tier, but there are different ways, and that certain ones may work better for others. But I think it's good if you want to improve or you want to just spend more time in this hobby. It's a good thing to do a little investigating on to see if that's something that might resonate with you. That's the word I probably should have used 100 times.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think this was an opportunity to shill, but it absolutely is. At necropolis.miniac.co, I have a bunch of masterclass courses, and to see if you like them, every single one of them has free course previews. So you need to have an account on my course website, but at that point, you can check out every single one. And they all have various free courses. And just to give you a brief rundown, John painted my model called the Warrior, and it's more focused on a beginner paint approach. And it's like if it's the first time you've ever painted a 75mm model, like that's maybe the one you want to go for. Benjamin Cantor did one on painting the Witch that is incredibly crunchy, and the way he discusses and talks about miniature painting is different than any class I've ever taken. It's very technical. It's very physical. Like there's a lot of like physics discussion going on, talking about core shadows and all these concepts that maybe people don't get into too often. And then there's my class. My class is in the middle. It is some level of tech nerd and some level of actual application. And I paint the Ranger and the Duchess, both my miniatures in 75mm format. And check those out. It's all free to preview. And then if you want to pick it up, you can buy it with the model itself, and you get $10 off when you do that on my web store at miniac.co. Okay, brief shill. We're done.
Yeah, that's a good way for us to end this painting classes suck conversation.
They suck? No, they're worth it.
They're totally worth it. Yeah, no, I if I didn't feel like I will now teach classes. I teach at Nova, teach at Adepticon. I'm going to sign up, teach at Adepticon again, teach at Nova again next year. I really, really enjoy it. I think it re-energizes me. It helps me learn a different aspect of our hobby. I think it makes me a better painter to find better ways to communicate things and look at things under a different microscope and to find ways that really resonate with students. I really find value in it, and I really think that students can get a lot out of them too. Specifically mine. Nobody else's really. I think they are a value. I just think it's all about that expectation setting and kind of educating yourself on what you're getting into and set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
And to try it, and maybe it's for you, and maybe it's not. If you think it's not, and you have more opportunities, try to experience multiple teachers with different teaching styles, and maybe it was just that teaching style that didn't resonate with you, but or maybe you take a half dozen and you're like, no, they all sucked, and you're like, oh, okay, well then maybe it's just not for you. That's okay too. We're all unique snowflakes.
Oh, right. I got to do my job. Welcome to the end of the podcast. I forgot what I'm supposed to say. Thank you so much for hanging out all the way to the end. Listen to what we have to say. We appreciate your ears.
That was my fake high pitched fart.
Ah, okay.
This is pretty close.
Because you couldn't squirt one out right now?
Have you noticed how many times I've farted in this episode?
So
I tried to push one so hard one time so the mic would pick it up,
dude,
and it was pretty loud.
Yeah,
but I don't know. But I was also doing this.
The camera follows you around. Yeah,
camera follows my fart stance.
Yeah, no, I think you tried to do one while I was doing a TUP Partner program segment, and I was just trying to block you out while I was trying to be serious.
I made homemade chili this week.
Oh,
and I had leftover homemade chili. Everyone knows chili's one of those things gets better with leftovers.
Absolutely,
you know
yeah.
Yeah, and I always do venison steak chili, or sometimes bear, sometimes antelope. It's a critter of some kind, but that slow, long cooked with little cubed steak, and that can just marinate in there for a long time. A little bit of honey. I tried this for the very first time, and 2 tablespoons of honey in my chili.
Okay,
you would never know that there's honey in there.
Yeah,
but it's just it creates this depth of flavor.
Yeah. I think that works out great because there's a lot of tomato in chili, and tomato is a pretty acidic thing. So adding a little bit of sweetness, honey is a great option. Can really work out. Anyways, chef tips aside,
right.
If you want to support this podcast because you enjoy listening to us and you want to listen to us more, I'm not saying that giving us money is going to make us make more stuff, but it's going to make us keep making more stuff, you know? So if you want to support the podcast, a lot of ways you can do that with money and without money. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can comment on the YouTube channel. Tell your friends about the podcast. Share it with them. You can give us a review wherever you're listening to the podcast if you are an audio listener. And if you have some money you want to spend, we have a Patreon where I mentioned previously we give feedback to our patrons. Our patrons also can give us topics, suggest topics for us to do for the show, and also a lot of the extra bits where we talk about things like our favorite painters from the last 2 weeks go into an extended episode that you can listen to. That's about 20 to 30 minutes longer each episode. So if you want a little bit more content each and every week, you can get that by being a patron as well. And lastly, we have a Teespring where we sell lots of kinds of merch, hoodies, t-shirts, sweatpants, fun cups to use while you're painting for water and stuff like that, or for coffee, either one. You can find that all linked down in the show notes or the description below, depending on where you're listening.
We appreciate each and every one of you goody PPs for hanging out with us. It's been a great time, and so we encourage you to also start playing Borderlands 4. And we will catch you on the
Flippity flop.